Let's bring in Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, that moment at the ice cream shop, I think, is an example of what happens when you don't hold a lot of formal press conferences. Reporters are forced to ask serious questions when you have an ice cream cone in your hand. And it's a moment that CNN's Jake Tapper also picked up on. Listen to what he said.
Just moments ago, President Biden was telling reporters that he hopes to have a ceasefire and hostage deal in place for the Israeli-Hamas war by the end of the weekend. That's a big announcement from the president to be given in an ice cream shop.
So what do you think about that imagery, which unfortunately somewhat overshadowed a really big comment that the president made?
I mean, it's all about optics, right, Carly, Todd? I mean, you watch the president with a big ice cream cone in his hands talking about hostages that, think about this, they were taken on October 7th. Think about all the months that have gone by since November, December, January, February, right? You are in the hands of these monsters. And here you have this elitist president in New York City holding a big ice cream cone talking about, hey, we may have a deal by the end of the weekend. He should be doing that in a press conference or in an Oval Office type of setting, not with Seth Meyers, the biggest fanboy on television that interviewed him last night. And it looks horrible. It looks out of touch. And this is why this president is now officially the underdog as far as winning back the presidency in terms of his reelection to Donald Trump at this point.
It's that word that I keep raising over and over again with you, Joe, the unseriousness of this administration.
Yeah.
Put the cone down. I understand you got a question, maybe you want to answer. Put it down. Just don't appear so nonchalant. Yeah. Thousands of people are dead in this war. Thousands more are probably going to die. This is kind of important stuff. There was an interview involved, not just ice cream. It was with Seth Meyers. Here are some of the questions and answers from that interview. Watch.
There's a dark Brandon conspiracy meme. And this is something that you seem to have a lot of fun with. You've co-opted. Do you enjoy playing around with the dark brand meme?
No, I resent the hell out of it.
Okay. And after the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, you posted this on social media and you wrote just like we drew it up. Now, I have you on the hot spot here. Can you confirm or deny that there is an active conspiracy between you and Ms. Swift?
Where are you getting this information?
Thoughts on that exchange, Joe?
Well, NBC News keeps reporting that this was a surprise appearance, scare quotes, as if Joe Biden just decided to show up on his own recognizance out of nowhere. Hey, I'm in New York City. I'm raising money. Let's go over to 30 Rock and just show up on Seth Meyers' set. I mean, that's the best part, because we've known about this for days. Obviously, it's been reported that he would be on there. And by the way, that wasn't live at 12:30 last night. That was taped at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This was obviously scripted, and the punchlines were fed in advance to the president's team. You could say, well, it's a comedy show, Joe. Who cares? No, I'm sorry. Even in this setting, you can't tell somebody what they're going to be asked unless, of course, you want to make them look good. And that's what Seth Meyers and his team did. Look, there's zero chance Joe Biden is nimble enough mentally to reach for his aviator shades that he happens to have on him, which yesterday in New York, at that point in the afternoon, you don't need shades without it being practiced multiple times. Here were some of the other hard-hitting questions that we heard last night. Obviously, we heard about, hey, is Taylor Swift going to endorse you? I get it's a comedy show, but at the same time, there's so many important things going on in the country, and late-night hosts tend to go into the political arena almost every night. Let's face it, Colbert, Kimmel, Seth Meyers, that they could have asked about the border and Joe Biden visiting there, or they could have asked about crime in places like New York City, or that food prices are still high. You can go and have a normal conversation with the president. They didn't do that last night. Seth Meyers was there to make Joe Biden look coherent and competent And quite frankly, so many little people are watching that it probably won't make a difference at this point, guys.
Well, yeah, no, Joe, I think you're right. And it's a late night show, so it's supposed to be fun and softballs. But there were some moments that went beyond partisan, like when Seth Meyers asked the president, former President Trump said that he'd be a dictator on day one. You've dealt with dictators before. How would you deal with that? It's like the Biden campaign is just saying, box check, box check. Okay, he did a good job.
And Joe,
what an in-kind contribution.
And Joe, before we let you go, to your point, he talked about Dark Brandon on the show. You guarantee that if Trump were in that very chair, they would not be talking about let's go Brandon. Instead, they get all those tough questions that you mentioned that Joe Biden should have gotten. Joe Concha, got to leave it there. Always answering our tough questions.
Yes.
Joe, we thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.